Yeah. It's a fish. This is a large fish.
I'm feeling massively undergunned. All I have to pull in this giant is a thin rod and a wobbly canoe.
That's the fish there.
I'm trying to stop the fish coming to the surface. If it jumps, it could spit out the hook. But it seems the fish is calling the shots.
Heavy fish. Rod in a painful curve.
As the fish comes closer, the danger becomes very real. If it jumps in our direction, the results could be deadly.
It's coming up. It's going to jump.
This is a lot bigger than any Arapaima I've caught before. I need to get it into the shallows.
In a bit more, please.
This fish weighs at least 250 pounds.
Keep holding, because I'm... Look at this! Arapaima on a fly. This thing... It's actually, I was going to say, it's built like a missile. This is a tired fish, believe it or not. Two of us can hardly restrain it. It is just, doesn't it look like a missile? Long, streamlined body. I'm thinking about 3 times the size of the one that hit me. Sent me flying, left me in pain for over a month. This thing came flying at you. Hit you in the right place, shall we say the wrong place. You wouldn't know about it, just a final flashing, fleeting moment and then lights out for good. I think that's a strong fish.
This is the biggest fish of my South American fishing career. A river monster as deadly as any beast of folklore. And if you caught a glimpse of something this size, colour and shape appearing on the edge of your vision, your mind could fill in the gaps. Here in Guyana, where legends of mermaids pervade local beliefs, you might think that you've seen the water mama. But one thing's for sure, there are Arapaima here so massive they could easily deliver a fatal blow. And if that happened, the river's scavengers would quickly clear away every last shred of evidence. Except perhaps a tidy pile of clothes.
This river is full of predators which, like the sawfish, come up from the sea.
And there's one in particular that I'd really like to have a look at.
The Barramundi is an ambush hunter that lurks near the bottom of the river, then bursts up to snatch its prey. To provoke a strike from this fish, anglers often use a brightly coloured lure, worked near the surface over deeper water. By perching on an island of rock, I can cast into a wide area of river. But steep sides and jagged surfaces mean I don't have much room for manoeuvre. This feels quite a good weight. Very, very sharp rocks are these. So. Oh, there it is, there it is, there it is. I just see a flash down there. There it goes. Oops. I'm clambering over here. Oh yeah. Barramundi, lovely. Not bad for 20 minutes work. Spiky old dorsal fin on there, that's why you've got to be a bit careful handling these. Also, there's a very, very sharp, razor sharp bit of bone just in front of the gill flap there. Plus I had all the hooks to extract on this very precipitous bit of sharp limestone here, but here we go, fish in safely, barramundi, and just what a spectacular setting to catch it from. Okay.
It's not often you use a big fish to catch a small fish, but after just 2 hours, it's definitely worked.
Oh, what was that? What was that?
I don't know the scientific name for all the scavengers at this gruesome picnic. The locals call these musum, or snakefish.
And that is just disgusting. That is horrible, whatever it is. I hate. Oh, it is one of the grossest sensations I think I've ever had. I quite like fish, but I don't like this one. There's little sort of lighter bits of material in there, and I think what's actually happening, you know, the shock of these things being pulled out, they're actually regurgitating bits of flesh into the water. Hold on. There's actually something a bit different in there. If I can get it out. I don't really want to shove my hand in there. There. Just hold him. There we go. So this is the Candiru asu. This is the fish that bores holes in the body and then devours from the inside out. And it was this fish that they retrieved from those corpses in the morgue. This was a heavy fish when it went in. Look at the state of that. It is just, you know, it's just been hollowed out. And there's a hole here, and that is, it is just like a bullet hole, except nothing would have shot this fish. I mean, it is just a perfect round perforation in the skin. Nothing left inside. In fact, if I just rip it open a little bit.
The Candiru asu makes no distinction between human flesh and that of any other animal floating in the Amazon.
Just like a hollow case of skin with the remnants of the bone inside. This is almost exactly, what the autopsy report was in the morgue, except, in that case we were talking about a human being.
This water is obviously filled with flesh eaters, so I try and entice them to feed out of my hand.
I'm actually just on somebody's house here, and I'm just dangling this fish off the side, and these Candiru are just attacking right on the surface, and they, I can see from here the way they are just literally drilling their way into that fish.
It's like a crocodile death roll, and no doubt the cause of the gunshot-like entry holes in the corpses.
I might try and lift them out, actually. I might just try and lift. Look at that. Hey, that's one there. And back in the water. Apparently these things will give you a bite just like a piranha. Look at that. That's very, very definite cut. And this is all the work of the Candiru.
The Amazon River is a scavenger's paradise. It's like an acid bath here for corpses. And again, it's members of the catfish family that are one of the principal operators cleaning up the bodies. I'm going to try a different approach by using to my advantage the strong currents that swirl around the island. Maybe it was scent rather than sight that brought in the predators that night.
There's a whole sardine on the end here, and the boat is drifting, so we're just going to slowly drift. We'll keep some chum going in the water, just to
bring the small stuff in, get some activity going, and hopefully bring in the bigger predators.
Oils from these pieces of fish leave scent trails in the water, and the predators here quickly find my bait. Something fast almost empties my reel.
Fish took right next to the boat. Look at that thing go, leaping in the air.
The fish is desperately trying to throw the hook. Then, my line goes slack.
It's off. What? Oh, it's still there. It's just running towards me. I had any doubt about these waters being rich. Here's a bit of confirmation there. Oh, this is a good-sized Dorado on.
This clearly isn't a silvery assailant, but it is a powerful predator in its own right, and worth a closer look.
Beautiful fish, look at that. Dorado means gold, but look at all the blue on there. Also known as mahi-mahi dolphin fish.
Those acrobatic leaps are totally in character for a hunter that takes out flying fish.
It's still got a lot of strength actually, I can feel it flexing.
But despite their obvious strength and agility, Dorados have never been known to pose a threat to humans.
Off he goes. Ooh, strong fish.
Finally, after 10 days of searching, a giant electric eel is right in front of me.
That looked like just one of these branches, one of these roots. That is an electric eel. It's a big one.
Now I've got to work up the nerve to catch it.
I'm just making a bit of a trench. From my point of view, it'll be easier to handle if there's some kind of sort of notch that it's in, rather than it's being able to slip and slide all over the place.
My normal capture method would be useless in water this shallow, so out goes the rod and in comes a lasso, fitting for cowboy country. Because electric eels don't rely on physical strength, pulling it out of the water shouldn't be that hard. But not getting shocked will be, so protective clothing is essential.
We've got a plan. The plan is not so much to sort of go after the head with the noose, but to position that and then get it to go through the noose. Just taking a few deep breaths, because one slip and it could be very nasty indeed. Need to be so focused and so careful about this.
An eel this size can deliver a shock of 650 volts. That's enough to stop my heart in seconds.
First go, amazing, first go.
Electric eels can keep on shocking out of water, but the rubber gloves we're wearing protect us from this.
Oh, look at the colours on this thing. These are wonderful. I've got to give it a clean. That is, it's doing a sort of, it looks like a muscle contraction, spasm almost. That's when it's actually shocking.
Because electric eels get most of their oxygen from breathing air, they can stay out of water for long periods of time.
That's 5'10½". That's pretty much exactly the same as me.
This is exactly the same size as the eel that killed Francisco, the 21-year-old man who died in the tiny pond near Villanova.
If I wasn't wearing these rubber gloves, I could be dead too. It's over 100 degrees and I don't want the fish to overheat, so Taimen went back in the water. The pond may be shallow at the moment, but the rains are not far behind me. The waters will soon rise, giving this eel the freedom to roam once again. My search led me to this tiny drying out puddle. I mean, the water in there is barely 6 inches deep. It's the last place you'd expect to find a river monster, but that's where it was. There's more, there's more, there's more. There's not just this big one. There's, again, it looks like wood, but it started moving. We were watching it, and it looks like there's actually several, but smaller, right in with these roots here. I've just never seen anything like this before. It's like a tangle of bodies. I'm just trying to count the heads. The more I look, the more I see. I was thinking 10 or a dozen. I think there could be 20 down here. This is an incredible discovery and answers the final question about how the cowboys died. I believe a group of electric eels like this was trapped in a pool over the dry season. When the rains came, the water levels got higher until the eels could all leave into the swelling waterways. It was in these waterways where the trio of unlucky cowboys came across them, after their startled horses threw them into the water. Each one of these eels could deliver a fatal shock, so a group of 20 would easily be capable of killing the cowboys. After feeling around, I've worked out that there's a flat shelf that then drops down to the riverbed. In this vertical face is an opening that goes back into the bank. In here is where a catfish could be hiding. At the moment, I can't tell how far the hole goes back. I'll only find that out by sticking my arm in there.
You're just gonna fill him up. If you get in there far enough, I mean, he's gonna be right here, and you're just gonna be able to maneuver him however you want. If you get in there far enough, you can it'll be no problem. Know that you got people here to help you if anything goes wrong.
And basically, as soon as you hear anything going, you're starting to pull me out anyway, aren't you? So, yeah. I put my whole arm into the hole and feel around for what seems like an eternity, but there doesn't appear to be anyone home. My lungs are starting to burn. I get the feeling I'm maybe not in there far enough. Is that the idea?
Yeah, you have to keep going there as far as you can.
Yeah, I haven't reached far enough into the hole. Okay. As we feel around the opening, something rams our legs.
Oh, he's in there. Keep it blocked.
Yeah.
He just swallowed my whole foot. Yep.
Yeah. We have to make sure that the hole is totally blocked so it can't escape. I submerge again. This time I go head first into the hole, which just keeps on going and going. Visibility is 0, and as I feel around, something bites my hand. Hard. Wait. I manage to get a good hold of it and bring it to the surface. I finally noodled a massive catfish. Oh! Well, that fish was lying there. Boom! Bit me once and let go. And then I sort of fumbled around and then actually reached into its mouth. It's a creepy feeling. I'm putting my body in there. Dylan's feeding me in, pushing me in, head first into a hole under the water. There's something that's going to bite me in there. It's dark. I can't see anything. What a stupid thing to be doing. You know, just ridiculous. But I mean, as fishing goes, it doesn't get much more mad than that. As Nate promised, the catfish is still full of fight. It tries to do a characteristic roll. If we can't control it, it has the strength to break my wrist. Oh! That's doubling my... Oh!
Luckily, it decides to let me go.
Big flathead catfish. I mean, well named. That head is flat, that lower jaw poking up as well. But just what a beast. It looks a bit sort of torn up. It's got some battle scars. That adipose fin here should just be a normal clean lobe, and that's been split. It's got a bit of a lump on it. Tail's a bit torn. One possibility is these things move into beaver holes, and if there's a beaver already in residence, you know, the beaver probably takes exception. And so, you know, these things have a bit of a tough time. They've got to compete for real estate down there.
This fish must weigh at least 50 pounds, making it a strong contender for the contest. Considering the fish that attacked Bobby Sparks was twice the weight of this one, any doubts I had begin to dissolve. I've been here for 3 weeks now, and I've had 3 hits, but still nothing tangible to show for all my efforts.
Fish on! Red! The net! Okay, I've got to just keep pressure from above because there's rocks, and I've got to... It's got to jump, it's got to jump. That's the float. Going to see the fish very soon. Going to see the fish very soon. There it is. That's the good fish. Look at that. The net, the net, the net. Careful, Fred. Careful, careful, careful. Right, we want to be very careful now. Ready for the net. We want to get the head in. La tête, la tête. Oh, segurez le poisson. Bon. Agora. Okay. All we've got to worry about now is it biting its way out. Okay. We got the fish, we got the fish.
Now I want to do something that fishermen never do when they catch one of these monsters. Have a look at it, then release it alive, back into the river.
The mouth is going, the fish is breathing, that's good. And the gills are going, that's good. This water is nicely aerated, that's a good thing as well. Ah, those teeth! That will just take lumps out of other fish, it will take lumps out of crocodiles even, and there are stories well documented of that taking lumps out of people. Wow, there we go. Oof. What a freshwater monster this thing is. What I'm looking at here is the ultimate piranha. Those teeth, just like a piranha's, triangular, sharp blades down the side, and they interlock. They interlock almost like scissors. They will just cut a lump out. Two big differences though. One is piranhas hunt in packs. You know, this is a solitary hunter, and the other thing is the size. People who think that piranhas are scary, if they saw one of these things, I think their nightmares might be populated by a slightly different animal. One sort of diabolical anatomical detail on this fish is that it hasn't just got one hinge on its jaw, it's got a double hinge. It's got one hinge here, it's got another hinge there, which enables it to open that jaw much, much wider. So it can almost open like that and just come straight in and take a really huge bite out of its prey. It's just a murderous animal, this thing.
This fish may look inactive now, but once it's revived a bit, there's a danger it could slice me at any moment.
I actually don't want to let it go too soon, even though there's a risk to me if I stay in the water, too long beside it. But what I don't want is for this fish to swim into the powerful water and then just not be able to hold itself upright. It will just roll belly up and probably get sort of battered on some of these rocks here. So I want it to be completely recovered before it goes. You know, I want it to be able to swim off, keeping itself vertical, unaided.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
No. Muito grande. We're having a little bit of a discussion here because Fred thought that we were going to take it back to the village for everyone to eat. And I must admit that is quite a nice idea.
He tells me this fish has been given to us by God.
Mm-hmm. He said even for the féticheur who gave me the charm, who told me I'd have success in the fishing, send him a piece of the meat. It's not just our village, it's the people over the river who've been helping. It would make everybody happy. But it wouldn't make me, well, it would in one way, but it would make me more happy to put this back. It's going to upset him as well if he sees this swim away. I'm trying to explain the important thing for me is to see it and not to kill it. I think it's very, it's very important that animals that we find frightening in appearance, that we try and understand them. We don't just hack them to pieces and kill them and then look at the dead body. I mean, I want to look at this thing alive and then see it swim off. If the fish dies because it has really, exhausted itself fighting against me and in that very wild rocky water, if the fish dies, fine, we'll take it back for everyone to eat. If it doesn't, if it recovers, if it can support itself, I'm going to let it go. So we now just wait and see.
After an hour, the decision is taken from me as I feel the life slipping away from this monster.
It's not going to make it. So, I mean, the good thing is, although the fish has died, it won't be going to waste.
To the people of the Congo, the mbenga is much more than just a fish. It is a spirit that pervades their folklore. Yet many people here, I now realise, have never seen this monster in the flesh. I begin to suspect that for Fred, returning this fish would have meant much more than just losing a meal. Bringing this fish out of the shadows into the light of day has been a monumental task. It's easy to tell myself now that my success was down to my persistence. But I still wonder how much was down to factors outside my control or understanding.
No, le petit. Okay.
But before I get another bait out, the scientists call me over to take a look at the surprise they've pulled in.
It's a hammerhead shark. Well, actually, this one is called a winghead. I mean, look at the width of that head. I mean, it is like some kind of underwater aircraft in a way. I've not caught a hammerhead before. So, I mean, this is impressive. Very strange looking beast. But I think what this really brings home is that the estuary here is just full of predators.
Another marine hunter following in the salty tides. But the more predators there are down there, the lower my chances of hooking the one I'm after. Mr. Toshimoto accompanies me on my hunt. He has been studying the Hanzaki in this river for the past 30 years. He knows their habits and where to find them. But not only that, Hanzaki are a protected species, so if I wasn't assisting Mr. Toshimoto in his ongoing study, I wouldn't even be allowed to get near them.
This animal has sharp teeth that will cut my fingers if they actually went anywhere near its mouth, so I've got my bite-proof Kevlar gloves on. Got to go down with this underwater camera, just try and see if I can find one, see where it is, and then go down and try and grab it.
At a waterfall, he tells me he has caught Hanzaki here in the past. It's a good place for them to hunt. There are plenty of fish here. I try the other side. The current is surprisingly strong, and I'm not entirely sure what it is I'm hoping to confront. But I think I've hit the jackpot.
There's one down here, or it might be two. There's a tail sticking out, about 4 or 5 foot down in the water, but it's right underneath this rock. It did move, as I came past, it did sort of shuffle further in though. But you understand, the problem is, I just have the tail, a little bit of tail sticking out. So hold the tail, grab tight.
Okay.
Okay, so grab tight, and then in the net. Okay, I'm worried it might double round and have a go at me.
Reassured by Mr. Toshimoto, and with my new and peculiar weight belt, I go in to confront my monster. It is a tough and robust animal, so I need to get a firm grip for its safety and mine. I am way out of my comfort zone. This isn't a monster I can catch on the end of a line. I've got to use my hands. I have caught a Hanzaki, better known as the giant Japanese salamander, one of the largest salamanders in the world, and the creature that I believe is behind the Kappa legend. They get bigger than this, but wow, this creature is aggressive, even though we mean it no harm. The good thing is that these guys, unlike fish, are just as at home on land as they are in the water. Pretty soon, he calms down.
That is a Hanzaki noodled. And I'm very pleased that even with my gloves on, my hands stayed away from that mouth. He wasn't too amused by the fact that he was just pulled out of his hole like that. But this, I think, is the creature I've been after. Looks a bit like a fish, but it's got hands. And that's exactly what this has got.
Mr. Toshimoto is monitoring the health of the Hanzaki population along this river.
It's nearly 10 pounds.
Measuring, weighing and micro-tagging every one of his catches.
Counting all the digits, all normal.
So that when he recaptures them, he can build up a clear picture of how this incredibly rare animal is faring in the wild.
Best part of a yard long.
And now we have collected a new one for his study.
This is an animal that hasn't been caught before. It doesn't have a chip in it. So that's a really good capture. Normally I wouldn't be allowed to touch this, but the fact that I'm acting as Mr. Toshimoto's assistant means that I'm able to work with this animal.
There are only a few pockets of these endangered giant salamanders left in the wild, these creatures that haven't changed since the age of the dinosaurs. Their survival is an important part of Japan's natural heritage. And when I try to release it, this national treasure still makes one last attempt to bite me, before disappearing, unfazed by his capture. We set out again in one of the small fishing boats to try and net one, just like those dead fishermen did a couple of years ago. The difference is, our intentions are not to kill the Kaluga, but a huge thrashing monster doesn't know that. Because I might come into contact with a sturgeon, I'm going to have to be careful. Just by handling it, I could get injured.
Sturgeon, actually, they have these bony scoots down the back and down the sides, and on a small one, they've got quite a sharp point on, but by the time they reach a big size, those points have gone, they've been worn down. So gloves, very necessary for handling particularly small sturgeon. We set net after net, each drift and retrieve taking over 2 hours. After being on the river for half a day, we finally net our first sturgeon. It's not a Kaluga though, but an Amur sturgeon.
Small Amur sturgeon.
So this is the ordinary sturgeon, and the mouth on this is, it's like a telescopic tube that comes down. So that's not really the mouth of a predator. They will eat small fish when they reach a large size, but it's more for just sort of sucking up crustaceans and things like that, smaller food items on the bottom of the river. We carry on setting nets in the hope of catching a rare Kaluga. One thing that demonstrates is that when you're netting, the choice of mesh size is actually very, very critical. We're working with sort of like 3-inch square meshes here, and which seems to be the perfect size for these smaller sturgeon. Apparently in the old days, when the Kaluga were running really big in this river, they used to use a mesh where each square of the net was about a foot square. Gives some indication of the size that these fish used to grow to. Even though our mesh size is smaller, it's still capable of tangling a giant Kaluga. We've nearly exhausted all the spots on this part of the river, but just before moving off, bubbles breaking the surface are the sign of something big coming up from the bottom. Oh, more bubbles here. That is our big fish. After weeks of searching, I finally caught my first Kaluga. So this is it, the Kaluga sturgeon of the Amur River. Now, this is big by normal freshwater fish standards, but by the standards of what this fish can potentially grow to, this is a small one. But I've never been so happy and relieved to find a fish alive. This fish would actually overpower you. This fish, you would not be able to hold your own in the water against this. And a big one of these, 15 foot long, I can well believe now the stories of those smashing boats, sending them to the bottom so they're never found again. I'm afraid that the last of the giants may be gone. But as fortunes can still be made from the fish that remain, this story can only end in tragedy for the Kaluga, and sometimes for the fishermen who still hunt them illegally. Despite having heard those stories of deaths and disappearances, the real victim is actually this fish, which we've fished very hard for. Well, this is the biggest one that I've seen. This thing's been hunted really to the edge of extinction, all for the sake of its valuable eggs. That's really very sad, and I really hope that this population comes back. But even in the face of this human onslaught, nature has a surprising ability to cling on. Fish on! Yeah. This is a beast that means business, and it doesn't feel like a shark. Good size. It's coming in quite close. It's already quite... I'm trying to get on these rocks in here. I need someone to grab it. I think that's ready. It's ready, I think. It's a sawfish. At last, the animal that's been swimming around on my head for nearly 20 years.
Here we go, my first sawfish. Look at this for a beast. This thing nearly 7 foot long, it's bigger than I am. And that rostrum on there, that's 1.5 foot long. It's got 39 of those teeth, each one is about 1 inch long, wickedly sharp.
We've got a huge dorsal fin, a very big second dorsal fin, very big tail, and they anchor the body. And when the body flexes, it's this head and this rostrum that really scythe from side to side. It's about to tense. We're about to have a splash. Yeah, here we go. Yeah.
This journey began almost 20 years ago. In the heart of the Amazon, I stood staring at a vicious-looking weapon and wondered if I'd ever see its owner in the flesh. Now, in a remote river in Australia, I've finally got my hands on a live sawfish.
Shall I hold that down?
The scientists, meanwhile, think they've figured out why these creatures come into fresh water.
It's flat on the rostrum.
Dave's latest measurements show that they're using the Fitzroy as a nursery.
Acoustic tag going in here.
Despite all the predators, it's still safer here than in the sea. Only when they reach 8 or 9 feet long do sawfish leave the river. As an adult living in salt water, this fish could one day become a 20-foot giant.
But I came here to find out if this fish is also a monster in terms of deed. Now, there's no doubt that that fearsome toothed rostrum is potentially a lethal weapon, and it's certainly been used as such in the hands of humans. But I can find just no instance at all of this fish having attacked a human being willfully. In other words, its monstrous appearance is not matched by its behaviour. Certainly if you're a small fish, this thing is a deadly weapon, but from the human point of view, the sawfish is the archetypal gentle giant.
If anything, these vicious-looking creatures seem to be more sinned against than sinners.
The thing is with these fish, it's always the weaponry that the attention is drawn to, the rostrum with all those teeth, but actually looking at the rest of this fish, this animal has been in the wars, it's been on the receiving end of quite a bad injury. There's a big bit of its pectoral fin here missing, and that's a very clean, curved cut, and it's slightly raw as well, which suggests it's fairly recent, and that would be a bull shark.
And look at that. A saltwater crocodile thought it would have an easy meal. Teeth just bounced off that hide. So this is not just an animal with a very sort of fearsome weapon on the end of its snout, it's just really tough as well. I mean, it just shrugged off that attack.
It really is a rough, tough environment down there, and it does seem that you need to be tooled up in some way or other just in order to survive.
The tragedy for this fish is that in a world full of nets, the very weapon it needs to survive is now liable to get it snagged and killed. My only fear as it swims away is that we may be seeing the last of these ancient and extraordinary monsters. With all my lines back in the water, I sit and wait. Again. It's barely 5 minutes before something bites one of my baits.
Something's on the float.
And from the way it's taken off, I can tell it's big.
Every time it comes close to the surface, it takes fright and goes down again. There it is.
This is only a small one. Siamese carp are said to grow nearly 10 feet long and reach over 600 pounds.
Just hoping the fish stays calm for a second. There we go. It's got a very upward turn mouth, this fish, so no surprise that it took a bait in the middle of the water column.
It's got plenty of weight to throw around, yet its rubbery mouth is completely toothless.
So no way that this could slice through anything or anybody. Just a really... what I was going to say is a really pretty fish.
This vegetarian lacks the hardware to make it onto my suspect list. I'm upping my game. Maybe a shower of meaty-smelling fish pellets will tempt a flesh eater onto my line. It's another bite, and this beast feels much bigger than the last one.
It's going the entire length of the lake.
To keep the line clear of snags, I have to get in the water.
It's heavy, it's not wanting to show itself. I keep thinking it's nearly ready, and then it just goes off again.
Could this heavyweight perhaps be the Mekong's mysterious mutilator? As long as my feet are firmly planted, I'm not in danger. But one more powerful wrench on my line, and the fish has the advantage.
I'm just touching the ground.
It takes 40 minutes of back-breaking struggle before I start to gain the upper hand.
Let's see the fish. That's the fish on the surface.
This is one of the biggest freshwater fish on the planet.
Large Mekong catfish. Very hard to hold up, very heavy, but also just incredibly powerful. I can't think of any other fish this size which is this powerful, and one of the reasons is this huge tail here, but it's also all the muscle that powers that. And there were a couple of moments I thought I might go under and be towed into the middle of the lake.
Mekong giant catfish can grow to well over 600 pounds, but there's no way this fish is capable of tearing into a human.
I can't see any teeth, and if I put my hand in there, there's nothing at all. So although this took a very strongly flavoured fish bait, which is quite unusual for one of these, which is normally herbivore, vegetarian, there's no way this can cut or slice anything or anybody.
Despite its size, this giant is no more a suspect than a toothless carp or an endangered turtle.
I've got to watch my footing. If I fall in, I'll be sucked to the bottom of this churning water in seconds. Crocs are hard to see in the water at the best of times, but the foam produced by the falls gives them the perfect cover. This could be my most dangerous fishing location yet. Anything takes that bait, it's a large bait, it's going to be a serious sized fish. So, one thing I've got to really be aware of is I don't want to be pulled in here. Fish on. Went a bit slack then, but the water is just moving around so much. It's actually gone in some of the water that's coming towards me. This feels a good size because it's actually coming with the current. It's up to, coming out to the surface. Coming out to the surface. That's a good size fish. Gosh, that's a good size. This fish is actually going with the current. It's just stopped. There it is, on the top, on the top, on the top. I think the fish is tired, but there's a real weight of water behind it. It's right in the side here, it's right in the side. Right in the side. It's tired out. I can't see the fish because there's just all that foam. about that? How about that? Right, I've just put a bit of heavy mono through its mouth. What I'm going to do, I'm going to just pull it back into the water, walk it round here into some quiet water where it can recover, where I can recover as well. I'm just hoping if there's crocs that they'll prefer the fish to me. It's already starting to get a bit more strength back, but I want to make sure it's fully recovered before I have a proper look, because if it goes back in this water, not properly recovered, it's just going to get bashed, possibly to death, on these rocks.
I'm going to need the help of my boat driver Etchy, as this fish is too big to lift by myself.
It's 112 pounds with the net. We've got to deduct a little bit for that, but that's well clear of 100 pounds. Okay, and then up. Okay, right. This is one lump of a Nile perch, well over 100 pounds, and just what an amazing setting to catch it from. Big old fish, ambush predator, great big paddle of a tail there, but at the business end, look at this, you don't have tentacles like a catfish, you've got big eyes, and then you've got this protrusible jaw. And when it actually opens that quickly, it's almost telescopic, and it just engulfs fish by creating a vacuum. The water just rushes in. And one other thing just to say, look at that for a defense, it's like having 6-inch nails sticking out your back.
Finally, I've caught the fish that shows monster Nile perch can still be found here in Africa's Rift Valley.
Ooh, nice to see it go back. Oh, tell you what though, if I was a fish, I would not like to live in this water. I mean, some of the other stuff that's in here, particularly the crocodiles, and also just the sheer strength of this water, but I mean, just what a dramatic setting to catch a fish like that.
As the name suggests, Oceanic whitetips are true open ocean predators. They are able to travel huge distances between feeding when prey is scarce. In the vast expanses of water they travel through, they are constantly on the alert for any unusual occurrence. I'm going to test whether sound in the water can bring sharks in to investigate the source. I'm putting a low-frequency tone through the speaker. A shark's hearing is adapted to very low-frequency vibrations, such as those made by struggling prey. The sound from this speaker has an underwater range of around 800 feet, spreading out in 3 dimensions. That equates to over 80 million cubic feet of water. Now, all I have to do is wait.
Fin just broke the surface right here, right here, right here. Heading this way. I'm guessing about 6 foot under the water.
It's a lone oceanic whitetip.
And it's coming in. And it's just feet away from the speaker. It's actually just within 3 feet of the speaker.
But one lone shark doesn't prove my theory.
One here. Fin out of the water. Right, there was just one. I think, you know, there's at least 2 now. Ah, right by the speaker, just 2-3 feet away. I think if I was actually in the water, that would be very ominous to see that. I mean, I'm safely, or relatively safely, clear of the water at the moment, but these sharks are definitely interested. They've come in from, I don't know where they were, but they've come in to check out this situation.
And the sharks aren't leaving.
They're sticking close to the speaker.
The sharks are circling, they're just hearing the sound and they're circling me.
I'm encouraged that this experiment appears to be working, but I'm now surrounded by sharks longer than my tiny kayak. I'm a little worried they're becoming too interested in me.
Right here, fin on the surface, going down. I get the feeling that I'm being followed. I think one of the creepiest things is actually the fact that, you know, when you're diving, you've got a mask, you can actually see clearly. When you're above the surface is broken like this, you just see that very ghostly grey shape. Oh, here's one right here, right here, right here. And it's coming back.
Without an obvious food source, they've started to turn their attention to the kayak. It's time to turn the speaker off. Eventually, the sharks lose interest in both the speaker and my kayak.
So it does go to underline that if an event happens, it's worth them checking out.
The Amazon River is 4,250 miles long, twice the length of the Mississippi. It is mostly wide and slow-moving, but up this distant tributary, it is quite the opposite. A fifth of all the water on Earth passes through the Amazon, and piranhas and their relatives are found in just about all of it. It's a fisherman's paradise. And it's full of river monsters.
And there's a fish on, there's a fish on. Oh, there it is, jumping out of the water. That's quite strong, that's a strong fish.
I've hooked a predatory fish with dental hardware straight out of a horror movie.
So this is a Payara, it's a relative of the piranha. It's an arms war down there, everything's got teeth, everything is eating everything else. And they've actually got those fangs there in the lower jaw, and they use those to puncture the swim bladder of the prey. So it just messes up the buoyancy. The small fish is then totally out of control. It's flopping around near the surface, and these will just come along afterwards and mop them up. And those fangs are that big that it has to have special holes in the upper jaw, otherwise it wouldn't be able to get its mouth closed. So there's probably, you know, some very precise engineering going on out of sight that we can't see.
This vampire-like creature shows how evil-looking the piranha family can get. But despite its looks, it is not the fish responsible for attacking people. This is a solitary fish hunter.
How you doing?
Yeah.
Terry.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you. I'm Ben.
Hello there.
Yeah.
On March the 14th, 2007, just here in the river mouth, Terry Hesse caught a 9.5-foot long female bull shark, estimated to weigh over 500 pounds.
This all looks like pretty serious stuff.
Yep, well, free out rods and reels. We using one of these. Nice
Right.
Tiago 80s.
Completely blown away with the idea of using, needing to use that in a river.
These guys are serious. I'm impressed. They're fishing in this busy working port on the frontier between sea and fresh water.
I mean, one thing I'm noticing already is attention to detail.
They've got a comprehensive plan to outwit the super-sensory capacity of this shark. Terry begins the journey across the river mouth to place the baits. Bull sharks have been reported to ram kayaks, taking the paddle splash and rudder movements for the thrashing of a fish in distress. Terry's okay, but in getting these baits set in the dark, I've injured my index finger. It's going to make things difficult. I'm just hoping that this and the disturbance from the busy port doesn't damage my chances. At 2:30 a.m,
Fish, aren't they?
with the tide high, the line begins to run.
In the heart. No, off. It's all right. Yep. Shuffling down. At the moment, it just feels like there's a boat on the end. It's just a dead weight.
I'm just changing the ratio there.
Yeah, that's pulling, that's pulling, that's pulling. It is coming my way.
And with nearly 200 yards of line taken in, whatever it is reaches the shore.
What is it?
That is huge! One of the best fish I've ever seen, man.
This monster is not what I expected to catch.
Right, to me, James. It's not a shark, but it is an exceptional fish.
It's just remarkable.
That is something, isn't it? I've never seen anything like this in my life before. It's what they call a Queensland groper. This is a monster. I mean, it's not the monster I was after, but this is a monster.
Look at it. This is 3 inches.
What about the girth?
Yeah.
2'1". Its girth is 4'3" inches. 4'3" inches.
This is a protected marine fish, normally found on reefs, but they're known to come into river mouths like this on rare occasions.
Look at that. This fish, even Terry and Ben haven't seen anything like this anywhere like this size, you know, so it's just an amazing catch, and particularly from a river. Just, you know, this thing really is a river monster.
Groupers have an extraordinary trick. This 250-pound male actually started life as a female. When there are too few males in a spawning group, a female will switch sex to keep breeding numbers up.
Ooh.
Time, though, for this gender bender to head back home.
To me, that just underlines even more than before that, you know, we just have no idea at all what is down there in our rivers.
I begin fishing again, now fully aware of the strength of this creature. But the difficulty will not be bringing it in or even landing it. What worries me most is getting close to those jaws.
Yeah, bigger one. There it is. Look at that, it's really big,
This could be the one I've been looking for.
I know there's snags on the bottom, so I'm trying to keep it away from that. Yeah, just see it. This black water. You can just see it down there. Yeah. Oh, yes. I need to just keep it away from stuff on the bottom, but there's also people's houses in the water. Just need to keep it away from that. At the moment, it's in open water, that's good. I'll get it well and truly tired out before I try and do anything with this one.
Then I need to examine it without losing a chunk of my hand.
I don't want to rush it.
Right. Oh, and that actually, just take a look at that. As I lifted it out, that straightened the hook as I lifted it out.
Oh, now this is interesting because I've just been seeing small ones of these. That's a different animal from what I have been catching. This is more of a size. Oh, so the coloration on this is actually quite different from the small ones. The small ones have a very dramatic red belly, which on this, so that's sort of faded away to this rather light orange. But the biggest difference is, gosh, very muscular fish. Just gave a bit of a kick there. This is all muscle here, so it's a very strong fish, very powerful. But I'm just trying to look at the business end here. Just look at that. On the small one, they were quite delicate teeth. On here, I mean, those are real crushers. What this fish normally feeds on in the Amazon is seeds and nuts, and they often have tough cases to be opened. So these teeth, basically, they're nutcrackers. This thing really does look like a giant piranha. But the teeth on this, not designed for cutting, but for crushing and tearing.
Seeing those teeth reminds me of all the stories I've been told about the attacks on people.
It's like human beings biting onto my leg.
Those teeth really do look uncannily like human teeth. And to be bitten by those, you know, I think that would be a very creepy experience. It would be just like being bitten by a person.
I didn't experience the type of pain until now.
They say that when a piranha bites you, when it actually bites, you don't know it's happening because it's such a clean cut. But this would be a very jagged, messy tear, and I think you'd certainly know about this when this bit you. And if these fish hear something splashing in the water, they don't go heading the opposite direction like other fish. They come heading for that sound with those teeth bared.
I'm left in no doubt that the Pacu is the bull cutter. A vegetarian turned man-eater. An outsized piranha with a taste for human flesh. An alien invader running amok, dominating entire stretches of the Sepik River.
The river people now accept that the bull cutter is something they have to live with. It's just a graphic example of the unintended side effects that you can get when you start meddling with nature.
When sockeye salmon come out of the sea and enter fresh water, the males undergo a monstrous transformation. They develop a hooked jaw and grow teeth to defend their spawning grounds. Not only that, both the males and females turn red and stop feeding, so they won't go for any bait or fly.
What you're doing is you're casting out, you've got a lump of lead here, and you flick it 45 degrees upstream. It comes down, and the fish are all facing upstream, and the idea is that they've got their mouths open, it just gets in their mouth, that panics them, they run, and as they run, hey, that ends up in the mouth. So it feels like a strike, but and that will be in the mouth, probably like that. But then they're not actually going for it. That's the theory. I'm going to see if I can put that into practice.
Time to try and get my first salmon.
Well, there you go, you got it.
Ah, he's off. Actually hooked one. That was a bit of a surprise. The line just was ticking down, and they haven't really spooked off too far. Just ticking down, it just stopped, and I think I was a bit too surprised. And I just pulled. I should have sort of actually tried to set the hook a bit more on that one.
With this many salmon around, it's not long before the bears start returning to their fishing spot.
Here's a bear just coming out of the brush on the far side.
Whereabouts is it, Glenn?
He's just looking out of the brush, watching for salmon.
Oh, yeah. And that, I mean, that's a very definite fisherman's posture, isn't it? Even though it's
sure, yeah, you can tell he's ready to pounce down in the water.
Within minutes, 3 large grizzlies have surrounded us. Our day on the river has suddenly become dangerous.
Oh, this is absolutely typical. You find a good spot, somebody else comes in, tries to LB you out, but I think in this case I'm going to make a graceful retreat.
He may turn back towards us too, because there's fish between us and the bear. And definitely a good time to keep talking, keep making noise. That way, if he has his nose down under the water, he can still hear us and doesn't end up, popping out of the water right close to us and having to make a decision about how it's going to react.
With the bears this close, I can pick up some fishing tips.
I think it needs a bit of practice. It's almost on a level with my early fly fishing attempts, I think.
Yeah, they wait till there's a bunch of fish congregated right underneath them, and then just jump right on top of them that way.
Because I guess, I mean, a bit like a human fisherman, if there's lots of fish there, even if you're a bit inept, you're still going to get something.
Yeah.
Once they've moved off a bit, I can carry on trying to catch my first salmon. But these grizzlies are putting me to shame.
Ah! Ah! Fantastic to see these bears close up. I wasn't really expecting that. You can see they're semi-aquatic, but I don't think this is the lake monster, but I think you could call it, in some ways, a bit of a river monster. Here we go.
Believe it or not, this is the first salmon I've ever had on the end of my line. This is a fish that can swim hundreds of miles up these fast-flowing rivers to get to its spawning grounds, so it can put up a strong fight.
Right, fish has done me a favour. It actually has turned off the main flow.
I'm so engrossed with catching a salmon, at first I don't notice our interested onlooker.
Out of the water, out of the water. Right, it's coming. Okay, okay. Right, I think we're going to break the fish off. I think it... Oh! No. Hey, is he on the fish?
This bear is clearly not afraid of us, and that's a problem.
Should we just break it off? No. We're going to break the... No, we're just going to break the fish off.
This is a young grizzly, but although not fully grown, it could still attack and kill any one of us.
You can have the fish.
Luckily, it's more interested in the salmon than us. It took my fish, and a minute later, it's back for more. This time, we need to fire a warning shot.
I am going to fire away.
Oh.
He's getting too pushy.
Whoa! No!
You guys, plug your ears.
Just deep breaths, just calm down. It's all part of the day in the life of a fisherman in this part of the world. Yeah, it's a fish, it's a fish. Is it? No, it's off. It's off. I've just seen a fish come up from my fly. It was in the tail of the white water there. And I think I probably pulled it out of its mouth. I should have just given it a little bit longer. It's very hard in the heat of the moment. You just get this reflex. You see the fish, I want to set the hook. But they're here, and they're coming up.
After feeling the power of the Taimen, I believe that a big one could pull me off balance and into the water. I need to keep my footing. Suddenly, there's something big on my line.
Yes, 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 yes. That's a fish, that's a fish. I've got to come down there, I've got to come down.
I mustn't let the line snag on the boulders, or it's game over.
Right, I can see it. I can see that red tail. Right, now just take it easy now. Big red tail. This is a good sized fish. You can see the fish really well going out into the current there.
The bigger they are, the harder they fight. And this one's fighting with all its strength to get away from me. The adrenaline is pumping, and my brain is telling me to keep a constant tension on the line, or this fish will throw my hook.
Okay, it's spinning, it's spinning, it's spinning.
It's a two-man job bringing this Taimen in, and our first attempt fails.
This is now difficult because the line is around the body of the fish.
I've lost control of the fish. I can't bring it out of the strong current. Janga has to go out into the middle of the river to grab the Taimen, hopefully without getting bitten. After an intense, nerve-wracking battle, a very long journey that began back in my childhood comes to an end.
Taimen on a fly. Wow. What a fish, amazing fish.
This is a rare beast. I'm lucky to see one this big.
Right. Oh, the size of the head on this thing. Wow. And look at the mouth on that. Just looking at this thing now, you can just tell how well adapted it is for this predatory lifestyle in this vast water. Very, very streamlined body, but this huge mouth, and the teeth in there are just angled, you know, they almost come back flat, which is why they're not immediately visible. And it's even got teeth on the tongue.
If it sank those teeth into me, it could do some damage. I can feel this one still has a lot of fight left in it. It's time to return it to its element.
What's really nice is this fish is just flexing. This fish is ready to go. I'm gently supporting it by the pectoral fins, just taking the weight, but Jack's still holding the tail. I think as soon as we let go of the tail, it's going to support itself. It might think for a second or two, and then I think it's going to be gone back into this fast water.
I was worried that I might never catch a Taimen, but I was lucky enough to catch 2 in the same spot. To me, this is also an indicator. The fact that the top predator is still here shows that this river is still alive.
For the time being at least, this is a healthy river, and just what an amazing sight to see. This is the poisson. The line that's drawn is tight. It's really hard to undo the knot here, which can mean it's a fish. So I just need to make sure that once I've untied it, I've got a good grip on it. Okay. Clambering over the hooks here. Hands on the hooks, don't like that. Oh, okay. I'm getting absolutely soaked, but I don't mind that if there's fish. Hey, there's a fish, there's a fish, there's a fish.
The stories I've heard are racing through my head, and I'm thankful to have the chief controlling the boat.
Bring it up slowly.
Most fishermen here normally go out alone.
I thought I felt something else possibly. Something moving down there.
2 fish can mean double the power.
So, hey, that's kicking. I've got to be careful it doesn't pull this line out and send those other hooks flying.
But fortunately, it looks like they've already lost a lot of their power, struggling to get off the lines.
I mean, luckily these fish have probably been on the line for a little while. Let's get all this line well clear from me. And I can feel something else pulling. I think there's something pulling on the end of this one. There is. There's a kick, definitely. I'll just get this hook sorted. There we go. Wow, how about this, Nothing. And I think it could have been the rain that, well, it's quite possible it was the rain that got them going. 3 nice sized sunny there, 3 very nice sized sunny. The weather's kicking off though, I mean, it's coming, it's getting worse. There's lightning. I want to have a look at these fish, but I think, priority should be get back to the village, have a good look at them there.
My priorities, I realise, have changed. 25 years ago, I left the Congo feeling cheated for not having caught the big fish. I returned determined to settle the score, but I'm leaving feeling humbled by this great river and the people who eke out a meagre existence in this crucible of violence. Again, I didn't catch the big one. Maybe they're no longer here, but I did discover that the 3 I caught could be more than capable of pulling a fisherman overboard if you're using the hazardous local methods. Instead of just being abstract jottings in my notebook, I came to really understand how those accidents could have happened. You're in a narrow, wobbly canoe, maybe there's waves and wind complicating the situation, there's a fish on the end, it's pulling, and you just lose your concentration for a moment or happen to slip at the moment when that fish makes a lunge. You've got a loose hook, flies through the air very easily, it's in your hand, it's in your leg, you're over the side. And actually in that situation, even a fish this size, you're not going to have a chance against it. This is going to pull you under. You cannot pull against a fish even this size. I use the large float that I've used before, but out in these creeks it's hard to know what is a fish and what is a snag.
Hey.
But these snags are more than just potential fishing hazards. With half-hidden roots and fallen trees, navigating this waterway at night is a disaster waiting to happen. And it seems every creek has its caiman. To make matters worse, I hear a rumble of thunder. My window of opportunity is about to slam shut. This could be my last chance to catch a wolffish.
Oh, wait, oh, off. No, I think that could have been a piranha that took it into a snag.
I think it could be time to call it a night. These things are very active at the moment. With the storm edging ever closer and hungry piranhas seemingly beating any wolffish to my bait, I'm considering calling it a night. But then I make a discovery.
Oh, wait a minute, I've got a scale here. That looks like a small wolffish.
The storm is closing in, but so are the wolffish. I decide to fish on.
Here we go.
Finally, a strong take. It's a wolffish. The monster I've spent the past 3 weeks trying to catch.
Here we go.
And it's a big one.
Over she comes. Ah. But fantastic, here we go. That's a result, that's lovely. So here we are, this is the wolffish.
And the stories I've heard about these, absolutely fearless. Anything comes near them, dogs, people, they'll go for it.
So it looks quite gap-toothed, but actually, pull those lips back and you see they're very spiky fangs underneath there.
The other thing about it is the fishing is just unlike anything I've done before. It's real guerrilla, close quarters, hand-to-hand combat almost. My quest for the wolffish has pushed me to my limits.
Damn!
It seems appropriate that I've had to push deeper and deeper into the greatest rainforest in the world to find the most savage and untamed river monster to date. The piranha gets all the press, but this guy delivers the goods. It's well armed with a fearsome set of teeth, but it's also fiery and fearless, attacking animals and people, even out of the water. And I'm convinced this is the fish that possibly pound for pound is the toughest, most monstrous fish of South America. There it is, the wolffish. The Ebro might be an artificially created environment, but it is far from barren, with wildlife being drawn to it from all over for its rich pickings.
We've got here a very rare white vulture. There's just loads of griffon vultures nesting in this rock here. It's just purpose-built, sort of like a block of flats for vultures.
You can almost smell the haddock pellets that the fishermen use here as bait, and I seem to be giving off some confusing odours of my own.
Yeah, I've been fishing in the sun for a few days now. I didn't realise I smelt quite that bad, but it's bringing the vultures in.
That's for a second. Oh.
Jürgen, my guide, has witnessed the continuing growth and aggression of these catfish.
You know, every fourth or fifth fish now is over 100 or 120 pounds, and they catch in hundreds of them over the year and just in a little stretch of the river. So the population is so big that never it should happen before, as not in Spain. That's what I mean.
So this is the place to be careful if you're going swimming.
We had some attacks. We had, especially releasing catfish. Sometimes they really bit on it, and then you see things like a big U or a big C. The mark of the catfish. He had you for a second and let you go. Oh, fish on. Great.
It's a fish. Zander. Nice fish. Not what I'm after, but some of the fish that are in here, that will go in sideways, won't it?
This is the adult version of those small fry that we saw earlier. Although spiny, they are still food for catfish.
Off he goes. Fish are weightless in water, but even a fish like this, not even beating its tail, just the momentum of it, just the mass of it coming through the water displays.